Hi everybody, Jo here again. How are you doing? Now today I'm coming in with a nice, relatively simple design, but one that you can mix up a bit. So I've teamed up literally one stamp, one Elements ink colour and one stencil for each design. And I've used the Heartfelt Verses for starters. And on there we have, you've got your birthday wishes, you've got Just For You, you've got love. So again, I'm using the smaller pieces of card. Look, it's the B7 size, and it's just a lovely size for creating with. So if I run through them, first of all, we've got this one here that for this one, I've used the lovely honeysuckle stamp. Now, again, I find you can stamp this down or up. And then in the background, I've used the, if I can get hold of it, the leaf trails. And again, I tend to use, look at you where you want the leaf trail to follow. And for that one, I've gone confetti. So that's your little plan and your recipe for that one. And then beep, beep, beep. For the next one, this one, I had a look through my stamps and I went for one that I don't see used very often, and it's called Chinese Lanterns. And again, I've often stamped this sort of across a page, or you can have it hanging down, but I've gone for it in an upward direction. And this one I've teamed up with the ivy, lovely ivy stencil. And the colour that you're going to ask for this one, I've actually gone pixie green in the back, quite a deep colour. And then the one we're going to create now, this one, I'm going to use, so the stamp is the Bellflower Vine stamp. Not easy to say. And the stencil is the Laurel. And don't tell Sarah, look, I think I might have some paint on this stencil, so we'll turn it that way and she'll never know. Don't tell her. And I just think, as I say, you could use these for so many different things. You could also mix your colours on your stencil. You could add two colours in the background if you want. This one I'm going to use Della Blue. But again, once you've got that basic design, you can mix it up and, you know, so much choice there. And don't forget, you get the clean up from your stencil as well. So this was the pixie green and the ivy. And then that also gives me a lovely background for stamping, especially silhouette in the middle. Sentiment, job done. So what I tend to do is, again, if I'm sort of, you know, coming in and I'm a bit fed up, or maybe I'm not feeling so good, quite often what I do is I get my card and we're going to put this black line round just because it helps frame it. And this is, for me, a good start. If you're feeling a bit fed up, just do a few of these and then A, you've got them ready to go, but B, it sort of helps you feel a bit more creative. And as you can see, yes, I do keep a piece of copy of paper just for doing this. So any permanent marker, again, any colour, I've gone for black because my stamping is going to be in black. And you're just going to drag the pen right along the edge. And I would always recommend holding your card down with a piece of kitchen roll. You've just less chance of that pen whizzing along. And we've all been there, haven't we? Well, do you know what? If you haven't, I think you're very lucky, or you're magical. One of which, you could be a witch, actually, never mind one of which. So, and I would always recommend doing this at the beginning because for me, as sure as eggs are eggs, if I do this at the end, it'll whiz right across and it'll be my favourite one. It'll be the one that's stamped the best. We'll pop that to one side because I'll be using that again. But like I say, I would just make yourself a few of these and then they're ready for when, you know, you're feeling like you're stamping. And also keep yourself a few at this stage with that clean up. Again, for when you just want to do your stamping or the stickers. The Lavinia stickers will be beautiful on this, or maybe some washi tape. Again, you know, you lot's so clever. I know you're going to come up with lots of designs. So again, if you haven't got a lot of Versafine Clair, now remember, I like to use these for my stamping because they're a lovely permanent ink and it gives lots of fine detail. So this is the Nocturne, the black. And I'm just going to, I've just over inked this a bit, and maybe me, if I don't clean that up, it'll end up on my work. And I'm just going to angle this, just so that stem there is sort of just coming off a little. And I just like a diagonal, I think it works well. But this stamp, it works beautiful if you're doing a larger design. Make yourself a panel and stamp it in the panel. Again, that works really well. So you could maybe even have an afternoon doing a few of these with different stamps and different colours, small designs, and then make yourself some larger ones in a panel. And again, mix it up a bit more. So I'll stamp my sentiments while we're doing all the stamping, and I'm going to go for birthday wishes for this. And again, try and get in the habit of don't rest your block on your work, just in case you've got ink. And we'll just put the sentiment there, and then it's nice that we've got that whole design there. And what we'll do, I'll just block that because again, remember, Versafine Clair, slow drying ink, and we don't want it to smudge when we do our stencil work. So, as I say, for this one, we're going to use Laurel. Now, I would suggest just spend a bit of time looking which way you actually want this to flow. Make sure you don't get an edge where you're going to use the ink, because if you're anything like me, once you've done that, you always remember doing that. So I'm thinking I like this here. So if I go for this, they're far enough away, and I just want it over where my stamping is anyway. So again, I've got my lovely, this is the larger of the brushes, and I'm just going to dab in the ink pad and then blend in the lid. And again, nice and gentle, just to start off with, until we see what sort of colour we've got. And by that I mean if it's a new ink pad, if you've re-inked it, or if it's a brand new ink pad, it will be quite strong with the colour. So just make sure you do blend it in the lid. And then nice and gentle. So it's just a tickle, just till you get a feel for how much ink. If you come in and there's too much ink, like we always say, you can't take that ink away. And I just want to nicely blend it. Now, if I want to have a look, I can lift it up. Oh no, I think that looks just right. If I take that off, look. You see how we've just got the right amount of ink. Now, what I like to do is just ink up and then just come in these corners with a little bit more ink. Now, I'm adding tone on tone. So if you look, it doesn't take away that. You can still see the stencil work, but it gives me a bit more depth in those corners. Now, this is quite a light, so I'm just going to add a little bit more ink because I don't think there's a great deal on this stencil. I was very light going round it. So we'll just add a touch more, and let's just see on a spare piece here, and we'll spritz it. So give it a good spritz and we'll just add it. Now, I've got a feeling there's not a lot of ink, but anything we'll get will give us a nice background. And the fact that it's free, and I'm cleaning that stencil, and I like a bit of cleaning my stencil, don't you? So while that's just activating, I'm going to use my Modulars pencils to add colour, and I've gone for 18, 27, 23 and 19. So that should be okay now to have a look at. Oh, hey, I'll tell you what, right, I'm going to drop that on Eric. Sorry, mate, but that is actually better than I thought it would be. So that's a bit of a bonus. So I'm glad I added that little bit of extra ink. But look, when that dries, it'll dry that bit darker. That's going to look fabulous as an extra background. So when you've got to this stage, obviously it's up to you. You could leave it. I think it looks quite nice in monochromatic, but we'll just add a little bit of colour. Now, again, when you colour this, so I'm just bringing in a little bit of the dark green to start off with. Now, there are various ways you can colour this. I have coloured somewhere, I've coloured this bit, the top of the flower, in the same green as the leaves. And it looks lovely, but I just thought it was sort of overpowering with the green. So what I tend to do now is actually colour the inner bit of the flower green. And the outer bit, I go for a couple of blues. So I'll add a darker blue at the top. Now, again, it might be you want to do the flowers different colours. Totally your flower, so you can decide. These are my magical flowers, so. And again, I think this design would look lovely. I mean, obviously I've gone for blue. And I'm just going to come in with my Wink of Stella, just the clear, although the silver does look nice on this. Water brush will work beautifully. If you want to just use your Lavinia watercolour brush and blend with water, or if you want to leave them just as colouring pencils, it looks beautiful. Again, you've got so many options. I'm just adding that little bit of sparkle as I go. And just clean the nib. And I just think that looks lovely. Now, some white highlights. I've got my Signo pen, and these won't really show up. And what I normally do at home, I'm just adding a couple so you can see. But when the Wink of Stella is dry, the highlights will show up better. But it's important to show you that I would add them, but I would just wait. I'd go off and have my cheeky brew and biscuit and come back. Now, when it comes to adding some splats, again, you could leave it like this. Could even add a little bit of sentiment stamping in the background if you want. I personally just going to add a couple of little splats, and I've gone through my various pens and the beautiful glitter sparkle pens. As you know, I love the yellow, but there's also other colours. So I've gone for the green. Now the blue would look nice in this. I just wanted to pick up that green. So again, give it a shake. I decided that my other colours were getting a bit left out because I use the yellow sparkle all the time. Don't forget your white Posca would work well. Or even just a little bit of your Elements ink on your mat. Now it might be you want to add a little butterfly to this design. I mean, as I say, it's just a nice, simple sort of generic design using your one stamp, one stencil, one Elements ink and your black Versafine Clair. Now, when I said one stamp, obviously I know we've got the sentiment stamp. So there's that one. And we've got the other one here. And we've got that gorgeous honeysuckle. Have you got the honeysuckle? It's a while since I've seen it used. So I'd love you to create a design with it. And don't forget, you've got your two little extras, those gorgeous backgrounds, which I can't wait to go and stamp something on. So thanks as always for popping in. I hope this really helps, and I hope you have fun creating, and this is just the starting point. I know you're going to sit down with a lovely brew and you're just going to have a lovely time creating. And once you start, and you know what, I bet you can see a Christmas design here because I just have. So I think that's going to be my next thing. So you all take care. Much love and hugs from me. bye for now.